Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing how to use my mortgage refinance comparison analysis spreadsheet. So hopefully before using this spreadsheet you've read my post about this spreadsheet and what all it covers. And so the point of this video is to kind of show you the details on how best to use this spreadsheet. To start out, you want to click on the link and go to the Inputs and Results tab. Within this tab, you'll notice there's a lot of highlighted cells. These highlighted cells are all the input cells. So I'm just going to go through and describe each of those sections. The first section is the current mortgage. This section you'll want to go ahead and input your current details of your current mortgage, the years left on the mortgage, the interest rate you have, and the balance remaining. So this next section is Refinance Details. Within this section, you can plug in the details for your various refinancing options. The first option here you should plug in is one that has the lower closing costs and fees, but maybe a higher interest rate. And the second option you can plug in here, plug in the details for the refinancing option that includes, say, a higher closing costs and fees, but then a lower interest rate. Some additional details you can plug in down here under the Other Variables section. This Other Variables section allows you to plug in a real portfolio return rate and interest rate. I recommend a 6.5% or slightly lower for a portfolio return rate. I've added some notes here in regards to return rates. And then inflation, I recommend around a 2% return rate, or sorry, a 2% inflation rate. The next section down here is the results. This is where it actually goes through and compares your original mortgage with the various refinancing options that you've plugged in. The first row here is the break-even point. This essentially tells you that if you plan on being in your house shorter than this break-even point, then it makes sense to stick with your current mortgage. If you're going to be staying in your house longer than the years listed in this first row, then it makes sense to consider either of the refinancing options. The second row down here mentions the break-even point comparing the two refinance options. So in the case here, the break-even point is 6.4 years. So the refinance option number one makes more sense if you're staying in your house on average less than 6.4 years. If you plan on sticking in your house longer than that, then the second refinance option makes sense. Then after that, there are 4 rows here that lists the refinancing savings after a given amount of years, whether it's 5, 10, 20, 30 years. The details for this are actually calculated in the Analysis tab, which I'm not going to go into detail right now, but essentially it shows you how much savings you could have as a result of refinancing compared to your original mortgage. So, for instance, if you did the first refinance option here, after 5 years, it's saying you would save a little over $8,500, and you can see how this growth typically really increases the longer you have, the longer you stay in your house, and these are the typical savings you can have. This spreadsheet, to note, does make a couple assumptions. It does assume that all the savings you are generating from refinancing your mortgage, the savings is then invested and you're not using it to increase your spending. Additionally, this spreadsheet also assumes that all your closing costs and fees are also rolled into your overall mortgage loan. So, for instance, in the refinance option number one here, where you have $1,000 in closing fees, and let's say your mortgage balance is $300,000, if you go with refinance option number one, it assumes that your total mortgage, when this is all done, it would be $301,000 because you're essentially combining your closing costs and with your original balance on the mortgage. So I hope this was informative, and let me know if you have any comments.